Good morning, everyone. I am Mary Jean A. Decretales, a reporter for the Rules of Quality Assurance in Education. I will talk about setting appropriate objectives in teaching learning. So let us first discuss what is objective. It is a description of what a student should be able to do or know when the lesson is completed. It is a goal to be met by each student in the class. Remember, when students understand what they are working toward, they are more likely to stay on task. Next, developing and using clear academic objectives will help to increase the performance of students in our classroom. Having clear objectives that can be measured will be optimized learning. High expectation for students result in higher achievement. Let us discuss the 6 elements for effectively developing and using clear academic objectives. First, develop objectives that are observable and measurable, meaning both you and your students should be able to see and measure progress toward objectives. Second, post written objectives where students can easily see them, like poster, whiteboard, or handout. Third, discuss the objectives with your students so they know exactly what they are working toward. Also discuss with your student how you will measure their progress toward meeting these objectives. Fourth, link objectives to prior learning, allowing students to connect prior learning to new learning. Fifth, determine that the objectives are appropriate for the skill level of your students. You may need to use differentiated instruction to meet the needs of our students. Sixth and last, measure progress toward objectives and adjust instruction as necessary. Remember, objectives must be observable and measurable. Different observers should get the same result when measuring the same objective simultaneously. To develop an objective, you may need to first assess the student's current level of performance. This would be necessary when working on cumulative skills such as fluency. How to write measurable learning objectives. First, they must define clear and meaningful action on the learner's part. Second, those actions must elicit observable behavior. Third, the objectives may include quantifiable criteria against which learners' performance might be assessed. Remember the original Bloom's taxonomy of 1956 and the revised version of 2001. Both of these can be leveraged to produce clear, measurable, and meaningful statements that define the learning objectives. The set of cognitive learning levels include: first, knowledge, which is remembering previously taught materials. Second, comprehension, grasping, interpreting, and translating taught material. Next, application, using learned concept in concrete new situations. Next, analysis, breaking down material learned into component parts to facilitate understanding of interrelationship. Next, synthesis, putting parts of analyzed material back together again to create new concepts or constructs. And last, evaluation, which is using a specific criteria to make judgments about material being taught. We are going to use action verbs. These are used to describe a particular cognitive level when writing corporate learning goals. Examples: knowledge-related, example, recognize, identify, match, list, define. Next, comprehension-related, those are associate, define, explain, summarize, describe. Next is application-related. The action verbs are apply, distinguish, operate, utilize, perform. Next, analysis-related. Action verbs analyze, classify, determine, inspect, recognize. Next, synthesis. Arrange, build, create, design, produce, rewrite, specify. And last, evaluation-related. Action verbs are appraise, choose, conclude, describe, judge, rate, score, evaluate. Remember, setting learning objectives underpins effective clinical teaching, helping to determine teaching, learning, and assessment methods. Next, understanding the curriculum learners' needs and the educational context is essential when planning teaching sessions. Another, remember that learning outcomes may be defined in terms of broad goals, instructional objectives, or competencies. Next, learning outcomes should be defined in terms of what the learner should be able to do as a result of an educational intervention. Lastly, intended outcomes should be SMART, meaning specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Those are my references. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned something. Take care and God bless.